All right, I'm just going to give a really high overview of administering ShoreTel workgroups. So, jumping into administration, expand features, and click on workgroups. All right, so by now you should start to get getting pretty used to the layout of Connect Director. At the top here, my list of workgroups. So I'll choose one of our workgroups here. And down at the bottom are all of the configuration options for this particular workgroup. So on the General tab, again, general information on this workgroup, the name, extension, backup destination. So workgroups are dependent on either the ShoreTel HQ server or if you have a DVS server. Those have to be up in order for this particular workgroup to function, and the assignment of that workgroup server is down here. So right now we're assigned to one of our DVS servers, and the backup extension comes to play if that server goes down. We don't want those calls ringing nowhere, so that will go to whatever is listed here in a backup extension. In this case, one of our hunt groups. Hunt groups are dependent on the ShoreTel switch appliances, so if a server goes down, the switches are still up. Those calls will automatically route to this particular hunt group. Okay, just some basic options here, and whether you want to include in the system dial by name directory or mark that extension as private for the work group. All right, setting a mailbox. So if you want to use a mailbox on this particular work group, and here's where you can record the work group name. All right, routing. So this is where we can set our on hours, off hours, holiday, and custom routing, determining the schedule here in the top with the drop down, and then the distribution pattern. So how do we want to ring agents? We can do a top down, round robin, longest idle, or simultaneous. Simultaneous is limited to 16 total members. So if you have more than 16 in this work group, 16 agents in this work group, you will not be able to use the simultaneous option there. Whether you want to call forward always or only on a no answer or busy. So unless you're only using this work group as a mailbox extension, you're probably going to set the call forward on a no answer or busy destination. So our busy destination is either forwarding to another extension or queuing that call. Same thing with a no answer, right? So if a couple agents are available and they just happen not to answer their phone, that's going to, in this case, queue the call based on our no answer. If all the agents are either busy or logged out or some sort of busy status, meaning no agents are in an idle status and available to take the call, we're going to queue that call. All right, and here's how we can set whether we want to forward after X amount of rings or rings per agent. Okay, if all agents are logged out, rather than queuing that call, obviously if no one's logged in and we queue that call, that call never get answered. So this is kind of a backup destination, if you will. If everybody's logged out, we're just going to send it to our hunt group. And some other options with escalation profiles for the mailbox and whatnot. Okay, and I can do this for each of the schedules. All these options are the same. And then just same thing, same information as a user, right? For voicemail settings. Members, the members tab now is where we can assign the agents that will be answering calls in this work group. On the left hand side here are the available extensions in the system. You can sort by either the extension or name column, or you can click the magnifying glass to search for either a particular extension or a name. And then click the little right arrow to add that person to the right side here, which is the selected agents that have been assigned. Queue handling. All right, so queue warnings for supervisors when they're viewing the work group in their Connect client. Calls waiting in time warning. So if there's calls on hold more than 60 seconds, we can generate a warning. Checking a box whether you want to allow agents to pick up from queue. So agents will have visibility of the queue in their Connect client window, and you can give them the option to cherry pick calls out of there if you'd like to. And then for work groups, there's 5 steps that you can define once those calls have been queued, right? So no one's available, all agents are on the phone, we've queued the call. So each one of these steps is exactly the same. We're just configuring options here. You can choose to skip the step if you want to announce estimated wait time. This time into next step is, once the call comes into queue, we're going to immediately play step 1. After that step has played, now we're going to wait 30 seconds before going to step 2. Our prompt text, just for reference purposes. And this is where you can play, record, or import, or erase the greeting or the message for this particular step. Just like auto attendance, you can click the preference button to choose where you want to record this greeting from. Okay, then you can give callers options, right? So in your queue message, if you want to say, all agents are currently assisting other callers, you can either remain on the line or maybe press 1 to leave a message, or press 0 to reach the operator. This is where you would set those options, right? So you can choose to either repeat the prompt, go to a menu, transfer to an extension, take a message, or hang up the call. So if we wanted to transfer that to the operator, choose transfer to extension, and then we would type in the operator extension here. So you can do the same thing for all these steps. You don't have to use all of these steps. Again, you can select the box at the top that says skip this step if you don't want to use that particular step. Maybe you only want to use steps 3, 4, and 5. You can certainly do that. On step 5, the time until next step, what happens after step 5? We can overflow or interflow that call to another destination. So we can overflow it to another work group, or we can interflow it to another ShoreTel destination, such as a hunt group. If we're sending it to a work group, we can check the box to maintain wait time. So when they overflow to that other work group, it'll keep their current wait time as they get overflowed into that queue. And then the DNS tab simply shows us what we've seen in the auto attendance and the user DNS tab, where we can assign a number right from here without having to go to the trunks.